I want to say that I love the WASPs. I had learned about them years ago, really, because a friend of mine, Marianne Burgess, wrote a book just about the WASPs and the unsung heroines of World War II. And I learned about them then. And when I wrote my book, American Heroines, where I wrote about women who shaped our country, American Heroines, I wrote about the women who broke barriers in so many different fields. And one of my chapters was on aviation. And that chapter profiles Amelia Earhart and Jacqueline Cochran. And I wanted to make sure that the WASP started getting as much recognition as we could give them. And so I wrote about Jacqueline Cochran and also Nancy Love because they were the ones who really started this movement toward the WASP. In 1938, Jacqueline Cochran was the first woman to win the Bendix, the cross-country aviation race, and she was the first woman to win. Amelia Earhart had come in fifth, but Jacqueline Cochran won it in 1938. So she had some credibility, and she wrote in 1939, after Germany invaded Poland, to Eleanor Roosevelt and said, I think that we should train women pilots because they can do non-combat assignments and free the men to be fighter pilots and go into combat. In 1940, Nancy Harkness Love also got involved, and she too was an aviator, and wrote the Chief of the Army Ferrying Command to basically support the same concept. And in 1941, General Hap Arnold, the Chief of the Army Air Force, sent Jackie to the British Transport Auxiliary, and he sent 24 women with her to see how the British were integrating women into their military. So Jacqueline Cochran led the 24 women over to see how they did it in Great Britain, and in 1942, Eleanor Roosevelt wrote in her weekly column, My Day, that women pilots were a weapon waiting to be used. That's what Eleanor Roosevelt wrote. And so in 1942, beginning, and then by mid-1943, women were being trained at Aventure Field in Sweetwater, Texas, to take on these missions. And it was an exciting time. These women, it ended up being 1,102 total, who were trained for being in the WASP, and they flew non-combat military missions so that their male counterparts could go into the war zones. Texas was the home of the WASP. It was the only state in America where they completed this Air Force training. The WASP were brave pilots. They logged 60 million miles flying missions all across America. When General Hap Arnold, who was Chief of the Army Air Force, called them at the graduation ceremonies when they were finishing their jobs, he said, the WASP are the best women pilots in the world. It is on the record, he said, that women can fly as well as men. Unfortunately, however, the WASP were never awarded full military status and were ineligible to become officers. They paid their own way to Texas to train, and after they were released from the service, they paid their own way home. Military service in war and peace is a dangerous business. Every year, those who are in this kind of operation may die from any different number of types of accidents. As aircraft companies turned out thousands of aircraft for the war effort, these incredibly brave women were in many cases the first to fly these untested aircraft across the country. Many of them crashed. 38 WASP died in the line of duty. When they did, their families were saddled with the costs of transporting their bodies, arranging for burials, and they couldn't even fly the gold star in the windows to honor these brave women. Their families were not allowed to have an American flag draped on their coffins, and no one ever presented a flag to them on behalf of a grateful nation. I wrote about the WASP because I wanted this word to get out. I wanted to raise public awareness about these military pioneers. And they, every one of them sitting here and every one of those who are already gone, have had a tremendous impact on the role of women today in the military. Their example paved the way for the armed forces to lift the ban on women attending military flight training in the 1970s. They opened the door for women to be fully integrated as pilots in the armed forces. And now, of course, we know that women fly every type of aircraft and mission, from fighter jets in combat to the shuttle space flights. Today, our military is welcoming an unprecedented number of women who are volunteering to serve our country. In 2008, we hit another important milestone that we did not have when I wrote my book. The first woman, General Ann Dunwoody, got the rank of 4-star general this year. That same year, Texan Monica Brown became the second woman since World War II to receive the Silver Star for valor. However, despite their cultural impact, the WASP never received the honors, nor were they formally recognized by Congress for their wartime military service. Until now. This year, I was delighted to introduce legislation to award the Congressional Gold Medal to the courageous WASP of World War II. The Congressional Gold Medal is the highest and most distinguished award that Congress can award to a civilian. The Navajo Code Walkers got that award. The Tuskegee Airmen, who had many of the same types of discriminations that our WASP had. They didn't get the full recognition until much later, but they too have won the Congressional Gold Medal. And when we saw these recognitions coming forward, it was very clear that the time had come for the WASP to get the Congressional Gold Medal. And in fact, when I introduced this legislation, I have never seen a Congressional Gold Medal go through Congress so quickly. Only 3 months. It passed this July. That is a record and news to be proud. There will be one gold medal minted, and it is in the final stages of design, and it will go on display in the Smithsonian. Each surviving WASP and a family member of each deceased WASP will receive a bronze medal duplicate of the gold medal that will be awarded at the ceremony, which will be in March of next year. I am so looking forward during Women's History Month to be a part of this Congressional Gold Medal ceremony, and I hope every one of you will be there as well to get your bronze medal in person. This is indeed a time to honor all of those who have served our country. I am so fortunate to be able to serve in the United States Senate and to honor not only the veterans who are here with us, but to honor those who have died before, to assure that our country is the strongest and the best in the world. Our country is the beacon of freedom to the world. It is on the shoulders of those who serve in our military that we have this responsibility and this honor. When you think about it, we are now in a war. We're in a war that is every bit as much of a war for freedom of our way of life as any war we've ever fought. This war on terror will preserve the freedom for our children and our grandchildren. And I want to say that without America, I don't know that the war would be fought. America is the only country that has the will, the determination, and the capacity to stand up for freedom wherever it may be challenged. And it is because of you, every one of you who stood up a few minutes ago, that we have that responsibility, because no other country has stepped up to the plate to assure that freedom will live. We owe you so much, and we are honoring you today. We are honoring every veteran and everyone who has died for this freedom. And I will be so pleased to give you the duplicate of the bill that passed the Congress and was signed into law in July that honors the WASP of World War II. Thank you for braving everything you did, for not taking no for an answer, for saying you were going to serve our country, no matter how many obstacles there were, and you did, and we honor you today. Thank you.